Another helmet update much later in the day. You can see that sun starting to set here at Levi Stadium, and we've got another injury to cover. Kalia Davis, the promising defensive tackle who had a good game against the Tennessee Titans preseason week 1. He has a knee injury that's going to require surgery, but his season is not finished. The 49ers anticipate that he'll be back about halfway through, and after the performance that we saw on Saturday with the tackle for loss and the sack, the 49ers definitely want Kalia Davis back around that building. The rules this year have actually changed, which should be advantageous to the 49ers in this regard. You can designate 2 players or put an injured reserve before the 53-man cutdown to return during the regular season. Used to be that you would have to burn a roster spot to make sure those guys could return. But if you designate the player to return, you've got 2 of those, and the 49ers will probably use one of those 2 designations on Kalia Davis. It's not an ACL, it's not an MCL. Kyle Shanahan said it was something behind Kalia Davis's kneecap. But, I thought that we had seen him split double teams for that one tackle for loss. That was really impressive. I thought that we saw Kalia Davis at his very best so far in the NFL on Saturday. Remember, Kalia Davis was a stack linebacker in college at Central Florida before they converted him to defensive tackle. You don't see inside linebacker to defensive line or defensive tackle conversions ever. But that explosiveness is his calling card. And you talk about DJ Jones and the 49ers missing his explosiveness against the run. They've compared Kalia to DJ Jones in the past, and I think that they want Kalia Davis to fill that role. But they're going to have to wait until about halfway through the season for that to happen. Ambry Thomas is also going to require surgery for the broken forearm. Shanahan didn't seem all too clear about when he'd be expected back, but he did make it sound like it might be the same length as Kalia Davis's injury, which would be about half the season. You would think that a fractured forearm, unless it was some kind of really bad fracture, would be a little less time, maybe only 6 weeks for Ambry Thomas, but maybe it's going to be longer, and we'll see what they do with him roster-wise moving forward. So, practice today, George Odom, 49er safety, congratulations to him. He's a baby will be born. He's got an addition to his family. So George Odom was out taking care of that today, paternity leave, at least for a day for George Odom. So the 49ers safety wasn't there. They only ran the first team in practice today because the second team, the 2s and the 3s, those are the guys that handled most of the workload on Saturday in Tennessee. So those guys were still getting a break. 22 team reps, and those 22 team reps for the 49ers all went to the first team. That's why you saw so much of Brock Purdy to George Kittle. 6 catches for Kittle, a couple more catches for Deebo Samuel. But, with George Odom out, obviously he's been taking first-team safety reps for the 49ers. They actually had to go to a third-team guy who didn't play quite as much on Saturday, Jalen Mahoney. So they stuck Mahoney in there with the first team. You had Bosa and Fred Warner back at practice, and Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Leonard Floyd, and then playing safety, the undrafted free agent, Jalen Mahoney out of Vanderbilt for the 49ers. Just a little bit of an interesting lineup there on a day where the 49ers did not have their pads on. Braden Willis missed practice today because he was a little bit sore following the game. Ricky Pearsall was working off on the side. I don't think it's going to be too long before we see Ricky Pearsall again coming back from the shoulder. Here's an interesting injury note. John Feliciano, Shanahan said that's not a day-to-day thing. Officially, it's not a day-to-day thing anymore. He's got the knee soreness. Shanahan said it's a week-to-week thing, and that should raise some eyebrows because if Feliciano is not expected to be back for a more extended period of time, that puts him in the same boat officially as another guard, Spencer Burford, who was out with a broken hand, which very clearly creates a clear path for Dominic Pooney, who was awesome, I thought, in his NFL debut in Tennessee. He anchored. 14 snaps, no pressures given up by Dominic Pooney. They've been looking for an upgrade in pass protection at right guard. Pooney didn't give up a single sack over 2 years at Kansas. First returns really good in pass protection for the 49ers. And Shanahan today acknowledged, he's getting first team reps. He started for the 49ers in the game against the Tennessee Titans. Dominic Pooney is a player who might be on the inside track to start now especially given some of these injury situations that we've seen for the 49ers. So that is the news on Pooney. By the way, Isaac Yiadom, the 49ers cornerback, is going to be out for one more week. He's got the ankle injury that he was dealing with for about a week, and they said 2 weeks at the time that he initially was sidelined. So Isaac Yiadom, who had a promising start to training camp for the 49ers, given the fact that he was getting all those first-team reps at outside cornerback whenever the 49ers were in a base package, well, you can expect him back maybe a little bit after this next game against the Saints. That, by the way, is Isaac Yiadom's former team. After New Orleans cornerback Paulson Adebo went down last season, Isaac Yiadom replaced him and delivered 11 pass breakups over the back half of the season. That was amongst the league leaders. When it went to pass breakups per game, Isaac Yiadom might have been in the very top spot. That's why the 49ers brought him in, signed him, and that might have helped him really position himself into one of those top 3 cornerback roles at the start of camp. Unfortunately, the ankle injury, he rolled it during a walkthrough about a week ago, means that Isaac Yiadom probably will not be able to play when the 49ers roll out some of their starters, in all likelihood against the Saints on Sunday night, but we probably should see him back after that. Speaking of the starters against the Saints, because there are no more joint practices with the Saints because the 49ers were a little too beaten up, Kyle Shanahan is given some consideration to playing starters more than he thought that he would. In the past, when the 49ers have had a joint practice against the team, they've run the starters in the joint practice and then run a lot of the backups in the actual game. But that obviously might change this time. 49ers have tomorrow off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They're going to be practicing here at the facility by the helmet. It's going to be a little bit earlier. We won't have this sun glare in the helmet. 49ers are going to have those practices here. Back at practice today, Demetrius Flanagan-Foles. I think he's your clear favorite to be the number 3 linebacker. I mean, D. Winters had some flash plays, but D. Winters also had some negative plays for the 49ers. So obviously really important to raise the floor at that third linebacker position. I think Demetrius Flanagan-Foles is a player who safely does that for the 49ers. Jordan Elliott, big defensive tackle, was back as well. Darrell Luter Jr., the corner, young corner, second-year cornerback for the 49ers. And you know what? Danny Gray back at practice. He's been hurt for a little bit, but he was wearing the blue non-contact jersey, and I mentioned earlier in the instant reaction, Danny Gray has beefed up. My favorite play today was the jet sweep to Jacob Cowing. And then there was a really good coverage play from Diamond Lenore later on when they went to Cowing on the streak, just blanketed him for the entirety of the route, and Lenore picked off the pass. But light practice, no pads, day off tomorrow. 49ers trying to heal up as quickly as possible. It's still right around mid-August at this point. They're going to evaluate Talanoa Hufanga on schedule, by the way, August 15th. That's going to be on Thursday. Doctor's visit for him. If it goes well, Talanoa might be back at practice very soon. There's your update. We'll talk to you from San Francisco.